Hey Taylor.
Hey, how's it going?
Good. How are you?
Good, thanks. I just watched a video that was very serotonin inducing. It's a FedEx driver just saying hi to all the dogs on his route.
Oh,
It was very nice.
that's great. Put
Just
you in a
just
good mood, huh?
totally. I
Yeah.
love those videos. I feel like that's one of the big perks of that job if you like dogs and
Oh
you have the
man,
right
I
route.
know. Until some dog is running you down the road to get back into your truck.
Yeah, seriously. It's very sweet. He has a whole account of these videos and he asks the owners if it's okay to give the dogs treats. So the dogs get treats and then they start to obviously come up to him every time he shows up. It's
Yeah.
very, very cute. They do
They're like,
try
oh,
to
I know
hop
this guy.
in. Yeah. The one person they want to remember, the mailman that they actually like for once.
Rue.
So cute.
Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Okay. I got a new microphone. I just wanted to make sure it was good to go.
So far, so good.
Awesome. How was your weekend?
It was pretty good. My cat's been waking me up super duper early for like a month, and out of the blue he let us sleep in for once, so that was good.
Nice. That's like when you have a baby and they do that for the first time. You're like, is everything okay? You're like checking to make sure they're still breathing. And
Yeah, we got to sleep in until like 10, which is way past our normal sleep in time. Like our normal sleep in time, if Hero's not waking us up, is somewhere in the like 8:30 region.
hmm
But no, we were both like dead to the world until at least 10 in the morning, and he went back to his old ways afterwards. So I don't know what, maybe he got tired too, but it
Oh,
was good news. It's all good all around. How was your weekend?
it was good. Very relaxing on the
Nice.
back end. The front end of the weekend, and on Friday, we drove up to where my wife is from in Georgia.
Okay.
One of our nieces was graduating high school. So drove up there, did the graduation thing. It's about 5 hours away, so not too bad.
Okay.
And then got up Saturday morning and promptly drove back.
Oh boy, that's a lot
So
for what, a day and a half.
yeah, it was fine
But
though. And then
awesome.
Sunday we did absolutely nothing. And Monday my family came over and we just kind of hung out by the pool, and that was about it.
Oh, that's so nice. I am
Yeah.
super excited for things to open up a little bit more here so that I can see my family. I think the last time I saw them, with the exception of my mom doing a drive-by, like, here's some Christmas presents in a lobby, was probably October. So
Really? Wow.
yeah, I was gonna go try and see my mom earlier last month because it was her 60th birthday.
Mhm.
But the actual provincial border was closed, so I couldn't go if I wanted to. They were stopping cars and everything. So
Wow. No way. Where are
yeah.
you again?
So I'm in Quebec,
Okay.
and my family's in Ontario.
Okay.
So Ontario, for once, was worse off than Quebec because Quebec has been really bad with the pandemic most of the time. But somehow we turned it around. I think maybe because everyone just already got COVID who was going to get it. I don't know, because people were not being careful at all. Um, but yeah, no, I think they're starting to reopen some things soon for Ontario as well. Fingers crossed.
Yeah, I think they've got like 2 weeks. I was just talking to the one of the gym owners that I work with in Ontario, and that's what she said. They've got, I think, June 14th, at least for gyms,
Mhm.
is when they're opening back up a little bit more. So
Right. Yeah, my mom was saying this morning that tomorrow retail stores are supposed to open back up as well.
okay.
So she's excited for that because she is quite a shopper. So
Yeah.
that's like exciting for her. But I think everyone is really excited for gyms to reopen, like
Yes,
everywhere.
I
I'm
agree.
not just two brain folk, everyone.
Yeah. All right. Let's go ahead and I'll put this on Facebook.
Awesome.
Share to a group. Team training. Go live.
Looks good.
Okay, shows good on my end, so it's good on yours too?
Yeah.
Okay. Did you just post the same thing, Taylor?
I was just about to post the same thing. I had it typed up and you beat me to the punch.
So it's only because I've got like another screen open right here with like all the verbiage that I need. And I was like, oh, copy, paste. Good. Okay.
No problem. I'll sit back and leave it to the expert.
Don't hang that title on my neck. I think what I'm going to do is what I did last time is just leave the Facebook screen minimized. So if we get any people commenting or interacting, if you want to just, poke at me periodically, I'll bring it up just to check. But I did prepare slides for this one today, so I want to make sure that I share those because I know, or at least I get the sense that they're helpful. People seem to like that. It gives them a good visual, and then maybe just something other than staring at my face and my office that is a mess right now. Please, nobody tell my wife that I took a bunch of pillows to soften all the echo up. Workington was helping me out with some Summit stuff. So he's like, just throw some pillows around in your office and it'll bring the echo down. So I told him if my wife gets mad for stealing all the throw pillows, then I have his address. So I will send her that way. Although I don't think that we can get into Canada right now, so it doesn't matter.
Revenge is a dish best served cold.
That's right. That is right. All right, so let me share a portion of my screen. Let's see. Is that good, Taylor? Does that look good on screen? Okay, perfect. All right, it's right at 2:00, so we're gonna rock and roll today, guys. It's June 1st. It is the last month of the second quarter of 2021. So if ever there was a time to evaluate how this year is going, I think it would be great to contrast it against the backdrop of 2020, maybe. That's a great perspective to share. If ever there was a great time to check in with your clients and see how they're doing so far during this year, this is another great time to do it because we're almost halfway through the year. I honestly am shocked that I'm saying that, but that truth is here, that we are starting the last month of the second quarter, which is also, like I said, the first half of the year. So what are we going to talk about today? A topic that I am just so passionate about because it breeds a lot of really great conversation. At least it does with the coaches and owners that I interact with. So hopefully we get some people that pop onto the call with us. If you're viewing this on Facebook and you want to jump onto Zoom, we would love to have you. Just click the link and we included the password there too. If for whatever reason you're not available to hop on to Zoom or it's just more convenient for you to be on Facebook, no problem. All I'm going to ask is that you interact some way. So if that's a thumbs up, a heart, if you give us a thumbs down, we're going to figure out who that was. And well, no, I'm just kidding. So just interact with us. If you give your thoughts, if you've dealt with any of this stuff that we're going over today and you've solved it a different way or you have a different thought, I would love to hear that too. So away we go. The topic today is your clients don't want or need fun. So what should you give them? Okay. Your clients don't want or need fun. So what should you give them? So I'm going to do just a brief introduction on this, talk about why it's so important. If any of this sounds familiar to you, whether it is in the messaging that you have used at your gym, if it is the messaging that you have used on social media, if it is messaging that you have seen, hopefully some of this stuff you can relate to, but something like a different workout every day that you come here, novelty, variety, Do you remember how boring working out used to actually be? Well, guess what? It doesn't have to be that way because we make working out fun. All right. That is your first fill in the blank. We make working out fun. So, why do we do this? Why is it that we frame working out this way? Um, the reason that I love talking about this in this way is because when you think about the messaging that that gives, what it does is it attributes a client's lack of success or reasons for failing to stick to something because it wasn't fun or that it wasn't fun enough. And here's the crazy thing. This is when people talk about you got to come here because it's so fun, or you got to do this workout because it's so fun. If you were to actually turn that around and ask that person, that client in front of you, you know what? What is something that is not fun to you in regards to a pursuit of health and fitness? Here is what you might actually hear from that client. Well, it's not fun to feel stuck. I've been working at this for so long and I just can't get past the point that I am at now. Or I've tried a lot of different things, but nothing really seems to work or nothing holds my attention long enough. Something else that you might hear if you ask a person, what is not fun to you? They might say that it's not fun to be injured every other day or to have a new injury every couple of months, because of this thing that I'm doing. And so, what does this really boil down to when we talk about what is not fun? Well, it's this: it's not fun to not make consistent progress for folks. That is really what we are in the business of delivering for people is progress, working towards where they want to be. So, non-health and fitness professionals don't work out for decades because it's fun. I'm in health and fitness. I have a career in it. If you are a coach or a CSM or of a GM of a gym in Two Brain, I think it's pretty safe to say that you love health and fitness. And so you will work out. That is fun for you. You go to the gym and that is a fun experience. But for the 99.9%, that's not why they do it. They don't work out for decades because it's fun. They do it because it's become part of their routine. It's become a part of them. They do it ultimately because it's a means to an end. So, why are we talking about fun? Well, we just talked about the passion and love that we all have for health and fitness. So, it's very easy to fall into that was a fun workout trap. And if I think that that was a fun workout, then potentially my client is going to think that it's a fun workout. And this can present a lot of different problems between coach and client and the relationship that needs to exist there. But ultimately, what it boils down to is misalignment for the client. So, what we're going to talk about today is if you can master what to really give them, what you're going to find is not just is the client fulfilled in what they are actually coming to you for, but you are also going to be fulfilled as a coach. So, if you've been at any of my presentations, you will know that about this time, 6-7 minutes in after the intro, I love to give a Cliff's Notes version of the entire presentation. So if you only watch the first 7 or 8 minutes, you can get some takeaways and then build off of that. Or if you're like, what is this all about? Well, this is it. The Cliff's Notes. What should you be giving your clients? It's this: an opportunity to progress. So those 4 words really anchor what we're going to go over today. Your job, what you should be doing is giving your clients an opportunity to progress. But building on it a little bit further, so we're going to go just a little deeper into the Cliff's Notes today. We want to give them an opportunity to progress through 4 different ways. That's autonomy, mastery, purpose, and then I added relationship to the end of that. So if any of you guys have ever read Daniel Pink's book, Drive, What Actually Motivates Us, you will recognize this concept, the autonomy, mastery, and purpose, because this is a framework that he uses to explain the truth about what actually motivates people to do things, okay? So I'm kind of taken that framework and applying it to this. And motivation is a big topic in health and fitness, but just know that I didn't invent, those three words and the language that we're going to kind of use around it. I do want to give credit to where credit is due and kind of honor that source. So what we're going to do is go through each of these four things. So if you're taking notes today, you can write 1, skip a couple spaces, 2, skip a couple spaces, so on and so forth. The first thing that I'm going to do is kind of give you a working definition of each of these, and then talk about how do I actually implement it so that I can provide that opportunity to progress to all of my clients. So let's kick it off with autonomy. So first, what is autonomy? Well, this is really for your client to take ownership and self-responsibility for themselves. So they are actually learning how to take care of themselves by coming to your facility long-term. And this necessitates one really important point that I like to drive home with coaches all the time is you don't want your environment to foster one that the client becomes dependent upon you or your facility to express themselves and move towards longevity in their health and fitness. So how exactly are you supposed to do this? How are you supposed to guide your client to autonomy? Well, I'm just going to lay out 3 brief areas. And then if you guys, while I talk through this, if you wouldn't mind either A, the best thing for you to do would be to jump on Zoom with me. I would love that. Or B, if you would post any kind of comments or thoughts on what you guys have to say about how you can take your clients closer to autonomy. If you would drop your comments into the Facebook feed, that would be great too. Okay, so number 1, how can we actually get our clients to become more autonomous long-term? Well, number 1, it starts with education. And we want to educate in a couple of very specific ways. Number 1, we want to do this on the floor. So while they're in your facility, you should be providing coaching. And in this case, we're talking about the form of education. And then the other one is off the floor. And this is where I know so many people that have been in the team training office hours have discussed this at length, so I won't. But this would come in the form of goal setting sessions, if that's what your gym calls them. At my gym, we call them consultations. Some people have called them athlete check-ins. Others have just called them check-ins. But essentially, we want to remove them from the training floor and get them into a private one-on-one space to talk to them, help them connect why they're doing what they're doing to the actual doing of the thing. And then how can you educate them to make better decisions that are best for them long term? And the way that I like to think of it is this, is you are going to ask your client questions, and then they are going to provide the answer that is, what do you think you should do for your workout tomorrow? Oh, you know what, coach? I'm thinking this, this, and this. And you can go back and forth so that they become a part of the process. And then over time, what happens? They know exactly what they should be doing for movement. And then you can do the same thing with sleep. You can do the same thing with eating. And then you can do the same thing with stress management. But the important part is here is you're providing education to them. It could be, here's how you should be moving. Or you might start all the way back to the very basics. You know what? What are the fundamental movement patterns that we have taught you so far that you have been at our facility? And if they kind of turn their head to the side and give you that blank stare, chances are you haven't taught them that. So let's start there. Well, you know what? We teach you to squat. We teach you to hinge. We teach you to push. We teach you to pull. And we teach you how to use your core or to carry things, stuff like that. So that would be how you do the autonomy piece first. Second is you want them to be a part of the process. And this really shines very brightly in that off the floor coaching piece that we talked about, in that consultative or goal setting check-in piece. Invite them to be part of the process. Show them the plan. That's kind of related, but I put that as the third one there. Show them the plan that you have drawn out, and then bring them in and ask them, do you understand why we start here first? and then we go here, and then we go here, instead of jumping all the way to step number 10. Okay, bring them into the process and then show them what the plan is. So before I move on, I'm just going to quickly check the Facebook feed to see if anybody else has comments. Doesn't look like it quite yet. Corey, welcome to Zoom. Thank you for joining us today. All right, so that was step one. Remember, the whole point of what we're doing, I'm going to go back to the Cliff's Notes, is we're developing an opportunity for your client to progress. That's ultimately what we should be giving them, not just the whole fun workout piece. So step one, autonomy. Step two, mastery. So in the context of a pursuit of health and fitness, what are we talking about with mastery? And remember, I told you in terms of honoring the source, this was from Daniel Pink's book, Drive. And this is where I'm going to kind of diverge just a little bit, because he's talking about some specific workplace motivations, and we're talking about health and fitness, and actually doing those things in the gym setting. So mastery in our terms, what we're looking at here is an opportunity for your client to explore their potential, and then taking that a little bit further, a consistent desire to get better. And so what you see here is we're not just fixated on endpoints. It's not, I lose the 10 pounds that I joined your gym to lose, and then bye-bye, you never see me again. Okay. We're looking for consistency in a long-term relationship with this client. So how do we do that? We do this through mastery, an opportunity to explore potential and a consistent desire to get better. So how do I do that? Well, first, we have to actually celebrate their success. Because if there's anything that we know in terms of the relationship between motivation and success, it's not that we have to get all jacked up and motivated and then we become successful. What happens is I take one step forward. That is a success. And then that is what breeds motivation. So the way that we teach this at Two Brain Coaching is success is what breeds motivation. So how does the coach do that? Well, very simply, you celebrate the successes, the bright spots that your clients are having. And it doesn't just mean I'm going to celebrate or highlight the deadlift PR or the Murph PR. I know so many of you guys just did that yesterday, and I'm not downplaying those. But what I am saying is we need to be careful to not just celebrate the things that are happening inside of the gym, because so much of our clients' lives, there's 168 hours in a week. At most, they're spending 5 hours a week in our gym. So there's 163 other hours where our clients are having amazing successes, whether it's in the family, if it's at home with their spouse, if it's at work. We also need to be celebrating these successes, because a pursuit of health and fitness supports and allows for greater successes in these other areas of life. Now, speaking specifically to the gym things, we talk about our 4 pillars of SEM, sleep, eat, move, and manage. When we talk about celebrating successes in the gym, we want to make sure that it's more than movement. So instead of just celebrating the deadlift PR, let's celebrate a week's worth of meals that your client prepped ahead of time. Maybe we celebrate a bright spot that they had in actually getting a full 5 hours of quality sleep. And then over time, when they get to 6, we celebrate that. And then we can celebrate a practice that your client has actually started to write down things that they are grateful for. So when we talk stress management, we can celebrate the things that they are doing for that. Taking it one layer further, we want to make sure that we make it personal. So is it great when deadlift day comes around and we celebrate all the PRs? Yes, that's a great generalization of celebrating bright spots, but it's made even more impactful if we make sure that we personalize that celebration for each client. Talk a little bit about their journey. Maybe they were terrified to pick heavy objects up off the ground before they joined your gym. So it's not so much about the weight that was lifted. It's about the huge step that they took in a mindset shift that I can pick up heavy things. So when we talk about mastery, let's make sure that we make it personal. And then it's really important that you pay attention to this last piece. And we need to formalize the feedback process. And what I mean by feedback is the communication, the relationship between client and coach. It doesn't need to feel forced, and it doesn't need to feel like you're just going through a checklist when you're working with your client, but you do need to have some sort of formal process. And again, I'm bringing this up because it's just so important and integral to optimizing the way that you interact with all of your clients, long-term success. This is regular goal reviews, client check-ins, whatever you call them, consultations. Formalize it. Do you guys do it every 90 days? Awesome. Do you do it every 90 days with every client? Awesome. If it's no to either of those, start there. Pick one client and start meeting with them and say, we're going to check in another 90 days or 60 or 30 days. It's not the rule. I would say if you go beyond 90 days, you're going to lose track of people really, really quickly. Okay, so step one was autonomy. Step two is mastery. I'm curious if you guys are listening along on Facebook, if you have any comments, concerns. Corey, I know you're on the call too. If you have any thoughts about any of the stuff that I've gone over, before I move on, I just want to give a few seconds for any of those things to pop up. So you can unmute yourself and just let me know. Let's see if I've got any. Okay. Taylor says nothing so far, so I'll keep moving. Okay, step number 3. Remember, we went autonomy, then we went mastery. Now we're going to move on to purpose. So what is purpose? In our context, when we're working with health and fitness clients, the purpose is their why. Why did they show up at your gym? And we have to go beyond surface level things here. And if you're not sure what I mean by that, let me give you a great example, because I was talking to a gym owner who also still coaches clients yesterday on Memorial Day. Beautiful conversation that we were having. And she asked me about this exact thing. And she said, you know, Josh, something that I've noticed is that sometimes in conversations that, you know, our coaches are having, whether it's in the check-in process or the no sweat intro process, when a prospective client comes to join the gym, what I've noticed is that they really stop short of digging deep in terms of why that client is really there. And I asked her, I said, well, what do you mean by that? Can you give me a little bit more detail? And she said, yeah, absolutely. So the clearest example that she had was a new client came in and was interested in joining the gym. So she was kind of overseeing what her coach was doing. And coach asked, you know, what are you here for? How can we help? What are you looking for? And the client said, well, you know, I would really like to lose 15 pounds. That is what I'm here for. That is what I've been having trouble. I've lost some weight in the past. I seem to put it back on, but that's really the goal. And so the coach was meaning very well, immediately moved into prescribing what they believed was going to be the best fit for that client. No judgment in terms of what they actually prescribed, but you can see that there wasn't a lot of digging, you know, that actually went on. And I've been in this position certainly many times before. And sometimes we are so anxious that somebody is ready to sign up, give us money to join our gym, which is not a bad thing, but we're so anxious that we forget to take the extra 10, 20, 40 minutes to extend the conversation out with that client to figure out, okay, you want to lose an extra 15 pounds. Tell me a little bit more about that. And it could be, tell me about your history with exercise. Tell me about what your nutrition looks like. What is it that losing 15 pounds is going to do for you? And we've talked at length about this in other presentations, and I know other, you know, office hours mentors have too, but if you're just stopping at that surface level why that person is in front of you, you're really doing a disservice to the client and to you as a coach long term. The way that I like to think of this is, if you guys have ever heard of the exercise called the 5 whys, you'll know what I'm talking about. That's how this would actually work. So client says, I want to lose 15 pounds. Why? Well, because summertime is coming up and I want to fit into, you know, this bathing suit. Because I'm going on a cruise. Okay, why is it important that you fit into the bathing suit? And you can actually feel right now the level of discomfort that you are probably going to put onto the client that's sitting in front of you. And if you have kids, you have felt this from your kids. You can't have that for dinner. Why can't I have a bowl of cereal for dinner? Well, because I said so. Well, why? And you go through this and it becomes uncomfortable. And then, like any good parent, you say, because I'm the boss, I'm in charge. You can't just have cereal for dinner. This works the same way. So you have to take the time to get it out of your client. You don't have to do it what I would call the annoying way and just keep peppering them and pestering them with why, but you can't just stop at that first reason why they walked into the door. So how do we do this? Well, we figure out what that is, and then we encourage big picture thinking because it is sustainable for the long term. And so if a client has a really, really deep rooted reason why they're there, they want to be a good role model long term for their kids. It's not just about being there for their kids whenever they have kids, but it's about being a good role model so that their kids can be good role models. So when you can understand their deepest level of why, you can encourage really big picture thinking on behalf of your client so that you can frame decisions that they make on their behalf to be in service of that big picture why. So it really becomes a solid anchor point for ongoing feedback. You know, Sally, you told me that your deepest reason for why you are here doing fitness with us is because you want to be a role model for your kids so that they can be good role models of health and fitness for their kids, so on and so forth. If that's the case, then what do you think that we should do in terms of your movement so that you can do this for your lifetime? So this creates conversation instead of you just spoon feeding everything to them. It allows them the ability to then be objective and think about the long term, the sustainable practice of doing the thing. And then it gives an opportunity for real time course correction. And this is one of my favorite things to do as a coach. And hopefully you guys can relate to this, but I have a client that I still work with at my gym. I do individual design programming specifically for him, and he has very concrete laid out goals. We have a timeline, we have expectation, all these things laid out. And we went through a huge process to understand what his deeper purpose is for doing fitness, so on and so forth. But inevitably, at least once or twice a month, he will come to me and say, you know what? Hey, Josh, I saw this progression for doing muscle ups. And what do you think about me trying this? Or the next time it'll be, you know what? I haven't snatched in like 27 days and 3 hours, but I just saw this program for how I can integrate snatching and how it can benefit. So you guys have all experienced this, I'm sure, if you've been coaching for any length of time. And we call this just the squirrel syndrome. Is every time they look around, they're, oh my gosh, snatches, oh my gosh, muscle ups, freestanding handstand push-ups, handstand walks, and I got to do it with an obstacle. If you understand your client's deepest purpose, it provides an opportunity for you to basically grab their head and bring it back to focus on why they are truly there. If you don't have that, it's nearly impossible for you to actually anchor what it is they should be doing on that day that is ultimately going to serve them long term. Okay, so that was step 3, purpose. How do we do that? We encourage the big picture focus for your client. We anchor that with ongoing feedback. And that really ties into what we talked about with mastery, meeting with them on a regular basis off the floor. And then finally, purpose provides an opportunity for you as a coach for real-time course correction. We call this, again, the squirrel syndrome. Any comments, questions, anything like that right now? I'll make you guys a deal. I'll move on to number 4. but only if Corey unmutes himself, or I don't want to make an assumption, herself. Corey, if you would unmute yourself and just let me know uh, what gym you're from and then what your role is at that gym.
Hey, sorry, I was eating lunch and that's why I had myself muted so I could not make any noise.
That's all
I'm
right,
from
man.
CrossFit Reform,
Okay.
and I'm our head coach.
Head coach. And how long have you been head coach there?
That's a great question. Year or two, maybe. I've been here for 6 years.
Oh, awesome, man. Awesome. Well, thank you for joining us. Is this your first office hours that you've done with us?
Yeah, usually I'm coaching during the times that they've been happening, but I've been able to catch this one, but I got to hop off maybe in like 10 minutes because I coach again.
Awesome. All right, man. Well, we'll keep rolling. Thanks for unmuting yourself.
Yeah, no problem.
Okay, so step 4 is relationship. So we've talked autonomy, mastery, purpose. The last thing that we want to make sure to do, remember, we're looking for, if we go back to the Cliffs Notes, we're looking for what we should be delivering to our clients is an opportunity to progress. The last piece of that is you've got to get the relationship right. So what is the relationship between coach client? That's really the bridge between where they are today and where they want to go. The relationship is also there to exist and allow for open and honest conversation. We talked about this a long time ago, but for you to do your best work, whether it's as a coach, as a GM, as a CSM, as a gym owner, your clients really need to know, like, and trust you. Well, how do they do that? They do that by being in a relationship with you. Why? Because it allows conversation to happen. If this was just transactional, we would all run 24-hour fitness gyms where you just have somebody that staffs the counter. Client comes in, scans their card, goes off into the corner, does their thing. They get charged on a monthly recurring basis and they leave. There's no interaction, no relationship. There's nobody to say, hey, this is where you said you want to go. This is where we agreed you are today. And this is the plan that we collaboratively put together to get you there. That is what a coach's job ultimately is. So that's what the relationship is. How can we actually build on this? Excuse me. Number one, it has to start on day one. It has to start in some sort of process where you sit down away from any exercise talk or anything like that in a private one-on-one setting where you get to know the person in front of you. Why are they there? And again, go back a couple slides. We're not talking just surface level stuff. The deep, deep, deep why, the one that is going to keep them anchored moving towards that for a really, really long, consistent time frame. Now, let's just say, I don't think any of you guys will fall into this, but if you know of a gym that falls into this and say, you know what, they don't do that. They just let people come in, start working out, and then it's like 3, 2, 1, go. So if you didn't start day one, the next best day to start is today. So you have two options. You started day one with your client, or you start today. What do I mean by that? Make time to talk off the floor. Now, I put monthly in here. That's what we do at my gym. Everybody, every client meets with their coach on a monthly recurring basis for at least 60 minutes. If you can't do it monthly, then do it bi-monthly. If you can't do it that, at the bare minimum, you have to do it every 90 days. So every 90 days or less, you need to do this. And I know, because I've said this myself, but Josh, we really don't have a lot of time built in. We're coaching all the time, and that's where we feel like the relationship can really be developed and built. And I agree, it can, but we're looking to maximize the depth of the relationship. So we need to remove them from the training floor and meet with them one-to-one. The other question that I get a lot is, well, what if we just did the meeting on Zoom? Or what if it was just a phone call? Is that okay? At my gym, again, this is just the way that we do it. No, I want you to be face-to-face in person with your client. Caveat, given the circumstances of the world that we live in right now, if you're not training in person, you probably, it's not a fair expectation to meet in person. But if you are, then don't make the excuse that you can't meet in person. Here's the other reason why it's super important to me to take it away from Zoom or a phone call is I want to see everything. I want to see Taylor and Corey's face to see how, if what I'm saying is impactful to them. So there are limitations, and that wasn't a call out. It was just more of an illustration, but it is impactful to be able to see people and to know that, like, okay, if I can see them, I'm betting, might be a risky bet, but I'm betting they're not distracted by anything else going on. If you're off camera, I can't make a bet at all with any sort of safety that that's not going on. So saying all that to say, there are a lot of opportunities for distraction if you're meeting on Zoom, or if you're meeting over the phone, or if you're relegating it to just a quick text or email conversation. I want the highest level of conversation possible when I'm building a relationship with somebody. Again, if it's possible. If you're training in person, then you're telling me it's possible, unless you're doing remote coaching, which by definition is not training in person. Okay. Now, if circumstances just don't line up for you to do it, then yes, a last resort would be to do this face to face. But best case, if you're looking for doing the best work possible, and why wouldn't you be, meet them in person. Okay. And then you're literally going to ask these questions. So the first one, why are you doing fitness? Or however you want to language it. I know that sounds probably grammatically incorrect, but it just makes sense in my mind. Why are you doing fitness? Why do you come here? Why do you allow us to coach you? Now, if they give a surface level answer, I got to lose some weight. It's just, I got to work out, and this is where I come to do it. If they give a surface level answer, ask, okay, then what? If you lose your 10 pounds, then what? Now, if they go deep the first time you ask that question, why are you doing fitness? If they give you their truest, deepest desire, okay, then you ask, how might that look to you? So back to the example that I gave earlier of Sally that just wants to be a great role model for her kids such that they learn how to be great role models for her future kids. Ask, you know what? That's awesome. How might that look to you? What does that actually mean that you are doing 30 years from now to be a great role model? Okay. So this first series of ask questions, and this is really cool how this works out. We're going to start working backwards again. This first series of ask questions is really related to their purpose. This is your opportunity for you as the coach to clarify that you understand their purpose. All right, so that's that first series of questions. The next thing that you can ask, again, we're talking about building a really great, deep relationship with your client. Ask, what can you do today to move one step closer? And then you can insert their goal or their deepest why, their purpose. What can you do today to move one step closer? This is where a lot of clients can kind of get, what we call paralysis by analysis, because when you talk about like the deep intention of why they're doing what they're doing, it can seem like to take that next step has to be a really, really big one. Or it can seem that obstacles always seem to get in their way. So this is your opportunity to point out any potential hiccups. What would you do if you had to move? If you had to move away from here, what would you do to continue moving forward toward your insert their goal here? So this second series of ask questions of what you're actually going to literally just ask your clients is related to mastery. Okay. You're clarifying that you, the coach, are competent in getting them there with a plan that allows for them to succeed. Okay. You're making sure that you are competent in getting them there. And that means you have to identify potential obstacles that they would have to get to their goal. And then the last couple of examples of questions that I would definitely recommend that you start asking your clients is, this is a great one, and this is gym owners, coaches, and this is also kind of a scary philosophical question to kind of sit with for a little bit, but if all gyms and coaches vanish tomorrow, like gone off the face of the earth, they no longer exist, and maybe even people didn't know that they existed. So you're asking your client this, if all gyms and coaches vanish tomorrow, would you know what to do to take care of yourself? Would you know that you need to move consistently and well, eat consistently and well, sleep consistently, and all these things that we talk about with sleep, eat, move, and manage, the SEM model? Would you know what to do to take care of your loved ones? Could you teach someone else what to do? If you get any no's in there, then the next question you ask is, what is one thing, not 12, because you'll get 12, but what is one thing you're not sure of? And so this final series of questions is really tied back into that very first step that we went over, the autonomy piece. This is really for you as the coach, for you to clarify that you're teaching them in such a way that they are empowered to be independent without you. And I know what I'm saying because I am very much for the coach. I want coaches to have a livelihood. I want them to have work forever, long term. And I know that there is enough in the world for all of us to have that. But in order to do that, in order to serve the most people that we possibly can, we can't always just be serving the same people. So what that means is if you really want to have a true lasting impact as a coach, you need to teach people long-term how to navigate this thing on their own. And so that goes back to that dependent relationship that I talked about with autonomy. You don't want your client to always be looking to you for, how do I do that movement again? Should I eat vegetables? And how much water should I be drinking? Should I be sleeping with, dark room, or is it okay for light? You know what I'm saying is all the questions that we're continually asked as coaches, long term, on a long enough time frame, you want your clients to actually have those answers. And trust me, I know what that means in the coach's brain because I've thought about this for a really, really long time. But if you extrapolate out the impact that you think you want to have in health and fitness, this is what you actually need to do to have that impact. So to recap, again, go back to the Cliffs Notes. We want an opportunity. We're not looking to just give them fun. That's not actually what your clients need or want. They want an opportunity to progress, because remember the flip side of that is what's not fun. What sucks is not actually progressing and getting better. So I think it would be fair to say it's fun to progress. And it doesn't have to be fun workouts, novelty, variety, something different every day. They just need to progress, but you need to teach them that. How do we do that? Through autonomy. What does that look like? Ownership, self-responsibility, show them the plan. Number 2, mastery, exploring potential, desire to get better consistently long-term, celebrating bright spots and making it personal. Number 3, purpose, understanding below the surface. Get below the superficial stuff. And I don't mean to use that term because I know it can have a negative connotations. I don't mean superficial as in, you're being corny or it doesn't really matter what you're talking about. No. Their goals matter, but what's the deepest intention that they have? And then number 4, the relationship, because let's be honest, without this, if you just think back to the transactional relationship that we were talking about before, the transactional interaction of a 24-hour all access gym, no coaching, the relationship doesn't exist. So clients don't have an opportunity for the other three things: autonomy, mastery, and purpose. So the relationship is really the foundation. Okay. So we left you with a series of questions there. So you have homework. And Corey, I'm sorry, you're one of the few besides Taylor that is on this call. So your homework is to do this with one client. So Corey, I'm going to ask you to unmute yourself and give me the name of a client that you want to test this out with.
I would test it out with a personal training client that I have. His name's Bill.
Is that the one that you're meeting in like 5 minutes?
No, that's a class I'll be coaching soon.
Awesome. So tell me a little bit about Bill. Where do you fall on, working with him in these couple of areas?
So Bill is actually probably one of my favorite clients to work with. I train him 3 times a week. I train him on Zoom actually twice a week because he has a home gym, and then once in person because he's pretty busy. But we've worked together for a couple years, and he came in with, superficial goals or, aesthetic goals. Like most people come in, they wanted to gain some muscle, they wanted to make some composition changes. And, over the time in the course of those years, we've kind of talked about the other benefits of having less stress from work because of exercise. And, he sleeps better whenever he, exercises, and it helps his performance at his job and his family and everything. And the most rewarding thing kind of on my end is he started realizing that, and he, verbalizes that and tells me, hey man, I feel so much better when we work out. When I miss it, I don't sleep as well, and then it makes work harder. And so now he has a holistic kind of value to fitness compared to just making the composition changes, which he ended up making anyways, and he was super happy about those, but it kind of paled in comparison to the realization of how much more impact it had on his life.
That's awesome, man. What's an area that you struggle with, like just in terms of coaching, somebody like that?
You know what? Whenever we were talking about autonomy, I think I struggle kind of going back and forth with how much autonomy versus how much guidance.
Yeah.
And I think it applies to him, and really like a lot of people I coach is I'm a big fan of having the autonomy and having people able to make their own decisions.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like it's a little bit slower of a progress than just telling someone, hey, do this and you're going to progress.
Yeah.
So I kind of go back and forth is, should I be guiding them more? Should I be guiding them less? Is it better long term that they kind of figure it out, or you guide them to make those realizations on their own?
Yeah.
Bill's an easy example because he made those realizations and it was a profound impact, but
Mm-hmm.
you got to think of the flip side of someone who may not have realized that impact yet. And how do you get them to that realization? Is it through guiding them or telling them?
Yeah. What do you think that you did well with Bill? Because you said that he's pretty much there. So
Yeah, I mean, honestly, we pretty much talk through our whole session. He likes to talk, so we get into some pretty deep conversations. So
yeah.
I think knowing each other on a pretty personal level is a pretty bonding thing, and that kind of helped out. So we talk about his deep goals and the what drives him and the passion behind what he does, and I think it makes it easier to kind of resonate with those things.
Yeah, absolutely. I know you mentioned that you have to go in just a minute, and I think you said you're coaching a group. Do you find that it's harder to do that in a group environment versus a one-on-one environment?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think in a group class you get a few key times. You get, beginning of class, end of class, if there's some downtime in the middle. But when the workout's running, you're not going to be like chiming in while they're in the rower trying to ask them about what they want.
What are your
But yeah,
deepest life intentions?
yeah. But in a one-on-one session, you have plenty of opportunity to have a conversation and keep that conversation going for the most of the session.
Now, at your gym, I know you said you're head coach. Do you guys do you have like a formalized process for, meeting with your clients, whether it's goal setting or check-ins or anything like that?
We do, but it could definitely be better. Talking about, I know on one of your slides you had starting earlier, starting from day one to do these goal sessions with people.
Yeah.
It's a goal of ours. It's probably not as organized as it needs to be, but I do find that it's a little bit harder is if you mention those later on after people have been members for a while, it's a little bit harder for them to kind of get on board or get the concept of a goal review. But if they
Yeah.
start from day one and that's just, what their experience is, I feel like it's definitely a lot easier.
Yeah. A big tip that I can give you on that, if you guys don't already do it, and this made a huge impact for our gym when we started doing it, is, when a new client signs up, like at point of sale, and say we book their first PT session or first on ramp, we also book their first goal review for 30 days out. Like it's not even an option. It's not, oh, somebody will get in touch with you. We just don't even leave it up to that. We just say, hey, 30 days from now, we're going to meet at this time. And then it just becomes, oh, this is part of the process.
Yeah, it's a really good idea, actually. That would help a lot with our scheduling portion of it.
Yeah, but I do feel you, man, because we're in the same boat. We've been open almost 10 years now, and some of the OGs that have been there for so long, it's hard to get them to sit down and have a conversation. We do still talk a lot off the floor, but I would really like it better if we could just, formalize it with them more too.
Yeah, I think the formal sit down is a little bit harder for our existing members or our long-term members.
Yeah. Where are you located at, Corey? I'm sorry if I missed that.
We're in Rancho Santa Margarita, California.
And how are things out there for you guys right now?
Things are going pretty well. People are happy to be in the gym. Our area is pretty supportive of businesses being open and functioning. We got a lot of members that are really happy to be here right now.
Awesome. Well, I know that you said you wanted to work with that one PT client on this. So what's your takeaway, your action that you're going to do specifically?
Great question. I'm not sure. Do you have a recommendation?
Well, so, we talked about, autonomy, mastery, purpose, and relationship. If you were to rank those on just a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being rock star, we kill it in that area, what would be the lowest ranking on that?
I would say possibly the mastery. I would say it's mainly with this client too, is a little bit less focus on the mastery of the movements.
Okay.
I think he's not too concerned about the mastery, and not that he would be moving, unsafely or understanding it in a poor way, but I think I've kind of let that slide a little bit because he's been making so much good progress in the other ones that is probably slack, or not slack, but kind of falling behind on the mastery of the movements.
Yeah. So, a couple things that I would put into place for you specifically then is number one, just ask those couple of questions, and I can share the slides whenever I'm done, but it's, just figuring out when you talk to him, and you'd ask him this directly, like, what's one thing you can do today to move one step closer? And so it's maybe not necessarily like we're going to squat with a perfect 10 out of 10 on form, but figuring out, okay, are you clear on the plan that we're going to continue making progress, and then pointing out any potential hiccups. So if he's somebody that travels a lot, or if he gets caught up, like the client that I shared the story of, that's always looking at like this new program or that new program, anything that you can point out that might be a potential hiccup is where I would also go with him.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds like a great plan, actually.
Awesome, man. Well, I'd love to hear back from you how that goes next time that you're with him. So feel free to email me. It's josh@twobraincoaching.com.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. Awesome. I definitely will. I got to hop off.
Yeah, go for it, man. I know you said you got a coach, so don't be late.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you.
All right, man. Thanks for your time.
Take care.
All right, guys. So that is all that I had on my presentation today. I don't know, Taylor, I didn't see if we had any questions.
Nope, nothing.
Okay.
I think people are probably tuning in later on.
Yeah, I wonder if it's the sleeping off the Memorial Day excitement
Maybe
that happened yesterday.
Exhausted from their hero workouts / Murph.
Exactly. Well, I hope this was beneficial. If folks go back and listen to this later and have any questions, comments, you can reach me. Either just tag me in that Facebook thread whenever this thing publishes, or you can also reach me, email josh@twobraincoaching.com. or go to our website. There's a whole bunch of different ways to get in touch with me. Would love to hear from you. Anything else that you guys would like to hear us talk about from the coaching perspective, I can take that back to the team. Other than that, I will let you guys go until next week.
Thank you.
Thanks.